Is the lit superstar Sebastian Cage, the high flyer from New York City. You know it's lit. And you're watching the Wrestling Paradox podcast. You know why? Because they lit. Like I'm lit. And it's not a fashion statement, it's a fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back inside the Wrestling Paradox podcast. And man, wrestlers, managers, referee, it doesn't matter. We interview everybody, and we have a great interview lined up for you tonight. Before we get into all that, you know who I am, Joseph Anthony, my main man, Chris Thrasher, sitting right on the other side of the camera. What's up, Chris?
What up, buddy?
What's going on, brother?
Not much.
How was
Living
your
the dream.
How was your weekend? You had the pleasure of watching my child this weekend. I hope my child and your child destroyed your house because you
Oh,
sent my child home with toys. So thank you for that.
you're welcome. And it's not a normal toy either. It was about a 4-foot Hot Wheels
Oh,
track.
so annoying.
It was already put together, so you're welcome.
Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we're doing inside the Paradox podcast. We are bringing you another wonderful interview. First things first, we want to say thank you to M&J Ecological, always looking out for us and taking care of us on this side of things. 305-697-2258. Make sure you guys give M&J Ecological a call. Marcus is over there waiting for you to call him. Any reptiles, pests, animals, whatever you got in your front yard, backyard, doesn't matter. Call Marcus. He'll get rid of it. 305-697-2258. If you guys have any, if you guys want to become a South Florida wrestler or a Florida wrestler or just a wrestler and you should move to Florida because that's what wrestlers do, you go to CCWFL on Twitter and you check out Coastal Championship Wrestling because I will say it, I said it before and I'll say it again. They are the last remaining territory in the business and they are producing some of the best wrestlers, some of the best managers, and some of the best referees. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a referee in the building tonight. She is a co-host on the Rewind Wrestling podcast. She is our host for our guest for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ref Amy.
Yay! I made
Amy is
it.
in the building. We've been talking about this for a
Finally.
long time.
I know it's been like 3 months since you announced. I'm
I know.
excited.
Well, here's the thing. So Sebastian Cage really threw off everything for us on a horrible night, and it kind of pushed everything back. So we said, all right, who can we end with for this block? You know, because we do blocks of 6, which unfortunately it's coming to an end. We're gonna start just going one by one and announcing them, but we were doing blocks of 6.
Mhm.
And I said, who do we end with? Well, we end with Jackal Stevens. Why not? Right? Because it's Jackal Stevens. And then Ref Amy got pushed back a little bit because I knew she'd be the one person who's doesn't have an ego like all these wrestlers. And she was cool. She was like, all right, yeah, put me to the end. So now we're closing with the best female referee in the business right now. She calls it right down the middle every time.
Yes, Daddy.
And that's Ref Amy. And it is an absolute pleasure to have you on here. We've always talked about kind of getting the two podcasts together. Obviously, the Rewind Wrestling Radio podcast is blowing up and doing their thing. And Paradox kind of came out of left field, and we're just trying to help build up, man. You know, it's never a competition. We share your guys' stuff. It's always a pleasure to listen to you guys talk. And your Temptress Ivy. Oh, she has my heart.
I know, mine too.
Another podcast.
Get in line. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Just different day, Daddy. Different day.
Daddy. Ref Amy, what have you been up to? How have you been feeling lately?
Well, I've been good. I've been in kind of quarantine lately, so that's why I wasn't on the my Bash of the Brew 3, I believe, and also the Cruiserweight Classic. So I had a little COVID scare. Don't worry, me and my family no sold it. We're just trying to get safe so I can come back and be with y'all, so I'm not spreading it around like Floridians do. But
Well, I mean, I got my first ref experience. I mean, I had the
I saw
motion
that
down and everything.
Oh,
I even did the bell. I even did the belt. Like nothing.
You fit right in. You should join us.
He slid in.
I slid. Just like good old Charles Robinson. I slid right in to make the pin.
Right into it. So I mean, I'm still having a hard time turning my neck. It's like I have to like turn with everything. It hurts. Doctor said take the neck brace off, once a night. So right now the neck brace is off, but 20 hours of the day I'm walking around with it right now. Dr. Eric Christopher, you will hear from the Paradox's lawyers. This is ridiculous. I used a wrestling move. You used a foreign object. We are champions still. That's the way I look at it. So I don't know if you saw it, Ref Amy, but we are the one-time former
I saw that. Yeah.
7 champions. Yes.
Yeah.
Does
The only question I have for you, Chris, is why did you count the other pin? You didn't have to.
I was holding. I was stopping, and
okay.
Eric Christopher slammed my hand down.
Oh, okay.
As I was gonna give him the old Earl Hebner like pause, and then
just
nothing. He just forced my hand down. He gave me an obscene gesture, which I'm seeking a different therapist, to go after him because it's mentally deformed me for the rest of my life. I can't. Like
things have built up to that. It wasn't just that. That's
it was just the tipping point.
Yeah.
So Ref Amy, let me talk to you about something. I want to know where was Ref Amy born? Like when I say, I mean, like where you were born, where was the dream of being a referee born for you?
So, like, I don't think anyone really goes into wrestling business like saying like I want to be a referee. So
you haven't sat down and talked with me then.
Oh, okay. Well, damn. All right. You'll be the first.
I can tell you that. That's my dream. I love it. I don't know why.
Yeah. So, like I always grew up loving wrestling, and I always flirted with the idea of getting in and out of the ring or doing a school and stuff. I even there was a point where I was going off to college, and then I also got information for a school in Orlando. And I was thinking about it, just no college, go to Orlando, and then my parents would have disowned me. It'd been really awkward for like family dinners and stuff. So I went to college instead. But then, I don't know, through the years of just flirting with the idea, like, should I do it? Should I not? And then COVID hit. And then I already have my 2 beautiful children. And I thought, you know what? Now's the time. The world's ending. Let's just jump right in. And I remember talking to Nelio, and I was still kind of hurting from pregnancy number 2. So I wanted to take it easy, like not really get in the ring, maybe learn the editing side, the booking side, and like being a promoter. And he was just like, why don't you just jump in as a referee? And that first night I came in, they were doing practice matches, and he just kind of threw me in there. He just like, see what happens. And like, I tell you what, you think you know all the rules to wrestling, and then you get thrown into a match, and then you forget all of them. Like, you just know, like, at some point I count the 3. At some point. But like everything else, I kept asking because the first match I reffed was Jackal and Vic Arson, just like in a random match.
Oh, those are 2 great guys, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're very patient with me. Like after the match, I'd be like, when do so the corner, is it a count to 4 or 5? Because I was just like blanking.
Oh, okay.
So after that night, like I realized I really liked being the ref. Because like obviously you're not putting your body through as much as being a wrestler, but you're still getting involved and you're still getting into the action, and it actually is a more important part than a lot of people realize. So that's kind of where Ref Amy came from.
All right,
it's cool. You have to like be the mother bird.
Yeah.
What
and actually just to bounce an idea off of you when it comes to the rules of reffing in the corner, me personally, in my opinion, I don't think it's a 5 count. I think it's actually a 6 count because the ref always counts the 4, then pauses like, oh, you gotta break it up. Then so it's always a 6 count, and realistic, so
Ref Amy, are you looking to switch podcasts? Because I could really use a new co-partner. I need a co. No,
fuck off. How about that?
What was that?
I said fuck off.
Thanks, man. That was great. Ref Amy, so how did you find Nelio and Coastal Championship Wrestling? You said that's where you got your start. Like, how did you find that though?
So I moved. I'm from Vero Beach, so not that far from here.
Hey, Vero. I know that place.
Yeah, it's an awesome place. Actually, as a parent, I look at it fondly a little bit more, but as a kid, I freaking hated it.
Oh yeah, I would love to move to Vero now. It's so quiet up there.
Yeah, and property's cheap as hell. Oh, great.
Yeah.
But so I moved down here in 2017 after my daughter was born, and we started going to the CCW shows. So like I was in the stands watching Cha Cha and Santos and America Horror Story and stuff like that. And eventually, I think I met Vic, and he gave me a flyer for the school. It was right around when he started, and I was just like, you know what? I'll keep this. I don't know if I'm going to do it. And then, like I said, COVID hit. I found that flyer again. And I was like, let's do it. And so I just messaged them. And then, of course, I come in and I see like Alex Ocean and Will Austin and Cha Cha. And I'm just sitting there like marking out, like, oh my God, I know you people.
That's funny
And I
'cause
still
Vic
do that
Arson
to
was
this
the first
day.
person we met too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vic Arson was the first wrestler that we met at CCW.
Yeah.
So that was last year. When was give us the timetable? Like when was this on you coming in?
Coming into actually doing the school.
Yeah, CCW.
It will actually be a year next month.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
right after summer, so right before Summer Glory, you kind of
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
like actually Summer Glory, I was supposed to like once again Nelly and Pablo were just like throwing me into the frying pan and they wanted me to ref in Summer Glory, but it turns out they had too many refs and so I just did the front table and hung out up there. But
That was you. Okay.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
took our temperature.
yeah.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
it-
All right. So, Ref Amy, you found CCW. You got in there as a referee. When did the dream start inside of you? When did you say, okay, this is what I want to do, or this is what I want to be involved in? Who was that character or
Ooh.
wrestler that really got you into that?
Ooh, so
What got you hooked into wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many words. Thanks.
Yeah. Sea World.
So yeah, so I grew up doing a whole bunch of martial arts like taekwondo and I did like the karate kid karate kind of stuff. And so I've always had like some kind of combat like sport in my life at some point. And I remember one time, I remember the exact moment I saw something on TV that was wrestling. I was at a tournament for karate, and I go and I see it's a scene between Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, and it's when they were feuding over the U.S. Championship, and he sprayed like car freon whatever in his face like
Mhm.
it was like the go home show. And I remember just looking at it like, this is so weird, like at little 11-year-old me, like this is so weird, so awesome, how are they doing this to each other? Because like kayfabe was well alive when I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
Of
from
course.
then, yeah, and from then I was hooked. Like I was watching SmackDown every Thursday. I think it was on Thursdays at the time. And I loved Eddie Guerrero. And then I also like, I hope we don't get canceled, but my all-time favorite was Chris Benoit, because to me everything looked legit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, it
Yeah.
probably was legit, and that's
Yeah.
why the situation arose how it did. But
Yeah.
we here inside the Paradox constantly say that kayfabe died with Chris Benoit.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that's where we.
I
firmly
coined
stand.
that phrase, and I actually called Joe one time because we were talking like on a Tuesday, not recording. We were like, what happened with kayfabe, and then we were talking about like social media, the internet, killed it and everything like that. The very next day, I woke up, I called Joe. I go, "You want to know when kayfabe died?" And he goes, "When?" I said, "When Chris Benoit died."
Mhm.
And he took a step back. I go, not just because of the media and like everything else that happened, but if you remember, Vince McMahon died that weekend
Mhm.
Yeah, the
on
limo.
TV. The limo
Yeah.
exploded. So
And people were calling
yeah,
inside. Yeah, people inside the arena. People were calling the cops saying Vince McMahon was just killed inside a limo.
Yeah.
So that was still real to people. People still had that.
Mhm.
And then once Benoit died, and Vince McMahon had to come out the very next week, and obviously be the owner of the company and things like that. Everybody kind of pieced together. All right, so this is all entirely fake. None of it is real.
Yeah. Especially like when I was that age, I think it was like 13 when that happened.
Mhm.
So it wakes you up real quick. Like, oh wait. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like, wait, you guys have jobs during the week? I thought
Yeah.
you were the big boss man. Like,
No.
Yeah.
jeez.
Val Venus, you're growing pot on the weekend? What?
Like,
And have questionable opinions.
Yeah. Dude, that guy, man, completely fell off. Completely fell off.
different
So-
time, different show.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
time, different show. Were you a fan of RTC? That was around your time, wasn't it? There,
RTC?
Right to
Oh.
Censor, Val Venus, The Godfather,
See, that was a little bit
Good Father.
after.
Good
Like,
Father,
that
The
was-
Good Father.
Yeah, that was before, because that was more like prime attitude era. Like since then,
Mm.
I've gone back and watched. Like my introduction to wrestling was more into the ruthless aggression
The Ruthless
Mm.
era.
Aggression, John
So with
Cena, JBL, Lesnar,
yeah,
all
like the
coming out. Yeah,
SmackDown Six, like oh that
yeah.
entire group of people. But I have gone back and watched them, and like I thought that was a great gimmick.
Well, that was a great gimmick. RTC. I mean, they're taking over the world right now. It's amazing. I
You're
know
right.
they're still
We
stop
just
being
don't know
serious.
it.
Like it's all me. It's all me.
Because I knew this 20 years ago.
They were just too head. They were too ahead of their time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask. So you grew up in that era, and like everybody else, you were probably a huge fan of Evolution.
Yeah.
Were you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like as a kid, I hated them because it worked. Like I
Yeah. Well.
remember, I remember like absolutely hating Triple H like growing up, and like I was just like, can someone kick like Ric Flair in the balls for me? Like just do it.
You know what my favorite thing though about Evolution is when they came out, they all came out and it was like the Raw after a pay-per-view. And Triple H got color, if Ric Flair got involved, he got color, right? So they come
Yeah.
out on Monday night. Ric Flair will have two like finger band-aids covering the wound, but
Yeah.
then like Triple
Triple
H
H
will
will have
have
his
this like knee pad stuck on it.
Yeah.
And it's like stuck in his hair and everything like that. It's like, come on, man. Like
Yeah.
He's selling it, man. He's selling it. I've been wearing a neck brace for 3 weeks almost for an Harry Christopher clipboard shot. All right, you gotta sell it. So Ref Amy, where? All right. So what's like next for you? I think that would be the appropriate question. Like, where do you want to go next? Obviously, refing in CCW, and I'm not saying leaving
Mhm.
CCW. I mean,
Yeah.
what's that next job for you inside that company?
Well, I really want to stay where I am as a ref. Like as far as like yeah, not so much just staying in CCW. I will always CCW will always be my home, and I will always be like that, be with them. But I kind of want to branch out a little bit in Florida, and now that like my tuition is almost paid up, and I could start reaching out to different like promotions and stuff. Maybe OCW, like me and Jose have become great friends through him being our senior official at CCW, and I'm learning a lot from him. So maybe he might take me over to OCW for a couple of matches. But I'm kind of just open to really anything, and I have the same attitude I had when I first joined, where I'm also open to do backstage work, like helping with it. I'm trying to learn how to edit right now for to help out with the other podcast I'm part of. And then I also want to learn more about the psychology of the business. And I've been actually reaching out to Dan a lot to get some pointers on that. Dan, our head trainer at CCW. So I want to learn everything.
Well, you
Right.
mentioned the book earlier. That's why I asked that. You mentioned you wanted to be behind the book and be writing the matches and things like that. What like you have some big ideas? That's something you obviously you just don't sit down and go, I want to book this show. You obviously have
we do
ideas.
that every week. We do
Yeah.
that every week.
I can't tell you how many times I rewrite AEW or WWE or even
Yeah.
CCW. I'm like, do this, do this, do this,
Yeah.
But
They just won't answer my emails.
yeah, I mean, come on, Nelly, I call you 100 times a day. Pick up.
I
But
don't know why they won't answer an email that's soccerkid69 at AOL.com. I don't know why.
69 420, sir. 69 so you touch base on the your other show that you're part of. Tell us about that. Go into that a little bit. What do you guys got working over there?
So, yeah, we got the Rewind Wrestling Network. The radio is the entire thing. We've been just trying to get a whole bunch of people to interview and stuff. Which, hey, open invitation, come on our show
Oh,
every now
really?
and then. And I kind of happened upon it accidentally. Because originally it was just Tyler. I don't know. You guys have met Tyler, right?
Yep.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah, and then Ted, who lives up in Philadelphia, and then Nelio. It was just them three for a while, and then Nelio was just like, "Hey, do you want to come in for an interview? Like, we'll do a guest spot, and like we'll review the week of wrestling." And he was gonna bring me and Ivy in for an interview spot, and then it just wound up like after those interviews went out that they wanted to keep us around. So now it's a weekly thing. I believe this week we have Christy James.
Ooh.
Oh, very
And
nice.
yeah, I'm very excited about that. I appreciate.
We're just trying to
Christy
keep up with
James.
you guys over here. We're just
Yeah.
following your path.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Hey, it works.
yeah,
You get connections.
you spoke about Tyler. I got to meet him in Nashville. He is a ball of knowledge of wrestling.
Mhm.
I thought I was really good and like a history buff of wrestling, and he was like, "Nope, it's this date, this
Yeah.
match, this show, these two guys." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, I thought I was the only one that knew that." And like, but no, he's a really good. And some of your shows, like I've listened to, very like awe intriguing. Like, oh,
Yeah.
he sees it that way, or he sees it my way, or
Yeah.
and it's really catchy.
Yeah. And
Really,
it's also great because we all, in a way, like represent knowledge of different eras of wrestling. So,
Mhm.
like, obviously, like my prime one is the Ruthless Aggression era. That's the one I have the most knowledge on. You have Tyler, who is like old school, like the 80s and early 90s wrestling. And so is Nelly a little bit, like the big man wrestling of the 90s and 80s. And then you have Ted, who's more like the WCW versus WWE War era. And then Angela, who's more like for ruthless aggression to the present era. So it's really nice because like they'll bring up stuff that I don't even remember happening or I didn't know happening. And then
Mhm.
we're also bringing on people that we're interviewing that like I knew of that but I didn't know how important they were to the industry at the time. So like Nikita Koloff. Like obviously I know the name Nikita Koloff,
Mhm.
but doing my research on him and then getting to have the interview with him, like what an influential person that was never in WWE. Like, and that just totally blew my mind.
Yeah, I think he back then in that time, if I'm not mistaken, he had a criminal background. Like there was some arrest, and
Mm-hmm.
during that time, WWF, when Vince McMahon took it over, he thought
Mm-hmm.
it was before the steroid era, so
Yeah.
he didn't want it like a black eye on the company name.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and so that's why Koloff stayed in like the NWA, WCW, and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But no, I listened to that show. That was a very good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah.
guys do a great job. Great
What
job.
about somebody you guys just recently had? I believe Crowbar on there, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How was
That
that
was.
sitting down with someone that obviously he was a bigger name, I would say, in the late '90s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how was that for you to sit down with him and talk to him in that?
It was really because like I don't know if you guys follow him on social media, like seeing those promos that he does where like he's all like elegant with the glass of wine talking about the demographic and all that stuff. It was weird, really fun to see him outside of that and then talk about like all the things that he did in WCW and this short stint with ECW and having the dark matches with WWE. And one of the things I took away from that is he's like got to be one of the purest like fans of the sport of pro wrestling because he still has fun with it to this day and he never like took anything for granted, I guess. Like he was always that guy who was like, I'm just really happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like a mentality I really want to bring forward. Just like even if I'm like working for I'll be happy if I work for CCW until I guess retire from wrestling because I'm just happy to be part of the business.
Right. It's you just want to have your hand and foot in the door.
Yeah.
And you touched on about like how Crowbar looks at, matches and the business a different way.
Mm-hmm.
When Joe and I first started this podcast, we were reviewing shows every week, AEW versus, NXT. Then it got
Mm-hmm.
to a point where we weren't fans of the business anymore. We were like taking notes and everything like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
one week I told Joe, I'm like, I'm not taking notes. And
Yeah.
I go, I'll have the match lineup and the results, but I'm going to tell you my opinion as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I enjoyed it more than, you know, getting into like dirt sheets, because it brings me back to, it's an escape from reality. Basically, you're going
Yeah.
back to an alternate universe of two men, yelling at each other in their underwear.
Yeah.
Basically, that's just, it just doesn't happen on a normal basis.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be fun. We're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be enjoying this.
Right. I mean, look at Bash at the Brew 3. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
after the match, my son's basically, my 5-year-old son's on one knee proposing to Christy Janes in the brewery. And
That's not a work.
that's not a work. That's a shoot.
he he stole her from me.
That is a shoot. He did it. And I was like, oh, okay. But then having beers with the wrestlers, and it's like, It's the camaraderie. Yes, you're seeing a Broadway show, but
Mhm.
they're real people.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
So you talk about having fun, and right now we're gonna have some fun. This
Oh
is a new
goodness.
game that we have implemented into the Paradox, our one-word association game, and
Oh no. Oh
nobody follows
no.
the rules anymore. I give them, I say one-word association, and they're like, "That guy's a fuck amazing, man. He's just an amazing guy," and I'm like, "All right, so amazing is that the word we're gonna roll with?" So let's
Well,
see.
some people do the 2 words, so give me the two
I'll
words
give
at
you the
Okay,
least.
two-word
two
option.
words.
I'll give you the two-word option. So you're a Ruthless Aggression fan, obviously. So the first one I'm gonna hit you with is Biker Undertaker, American Badass Undertaker.
All right, might get me heat stale.
Stale. Do
Yeah.
you want to elaborate on that one because I'm very
So,
interested.
because like I didn't really like Biker Taker was just ending when I started really getting into it, and so I most of my Undertaker experience was with like the new Dead Man, and
Mhm.
I thought that was like the best like gimmick ever. So then when I went back and watched like the biker gimmick, like when the network came out and stuff, and rewatched that era, I don't know, it just felt like a whitewashed Undertaker. I don't know, it just I didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
He was
It was just
10 years too late for the Disciples of Apocalypse.
Yo,
yeah.
oh my God, ball and chains.
Yeah, ball and chain. Yeah, and I think Axel was one of them too.
Oh man. Did you ever go back and watch the Attitude Era? So they talk about how great the Attitude Era was, and you had The Rock, and you had Austin, and you had Triple H, and you had X Pac and DX, and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but we still got to sit through Savio Vega and
Mhm.
a ball DOA, Dead on Arrival, and the oddities, and this, and it was just like, yeah, we got to sit through all that shit. We'll get there at the end, but this stuff still kind of sucks. It would be
Yeah,
three quick
no.
3-minute matches, and there
Yeah.
would be 15 matches every card.
Yeah, it like Attitude Era is full of great moments, but like when you actually sit down and watch like the episodes, like you're just kind of sitting there, especially as a girl. Like, but that was the thing as a kid growing up in the wrestling business, especially a girl. Like there weren't many like idols to look up to that
No, you had
didn't have to
Sable out
do
there with handprints. I still don't know whose
exactly.
handprints those were. They were so lucky. They weren't Brock Lesnar, I can tell you that. Uh, but yeah, you got Sable out there in a potato sack and like she was
Mhm.
really the only woman ever being like her and BB, I think her name was Dr. BB. Like those
Mm.
are the only two I really remember out of that era of the Attitude, and there wasn't a lot of influential females, and that's something we have now,
Yeah,
especially
Medusa,
Medusa. Yes, Medusa.
And
Alundra
Molly
Blaze.
Holly. Molly Holly was
Molly
there
Molly
Holly.
too.
Holly was more. Molly Holly wasn't really attitude, was she? Was she attitude?
Was she in more than
I thought she was more ruthless aggression. Maybe she was attitude because she was part of RTC, so she had a little bit of attitude era in her. But
Mm.
you go back and you look at 96, 97, those like really
Mm.
fresh attitude era years, and
Mhm.
all you really had was Mark Merrow toting around Sable and Jacqueline.
Mhm.
Mita and
Yeah.
Trish Stratus really came in, and obviously 2001, 2002, and three. Those were some great years for them, and actually them headlining a Raw was really, really great to see. I don't know if you got back and like watch that match.
No, no, yeah.
Oh,
Where she like tumbles and like cracks her
oh my
spine.
God,
Yeah.
yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. But we're gonna stick with the ruthless aggression era. Well, every era for this guy. Mike Chioda, referee.
Oh, best. He was my favorite.
Best? All right.
Yeah, I loved him.
And we'll go with this one, Aubrey Edwards.
I'm trying to. All right, what's the right word? All right, well, mentor, because literally I reach out to her a lot. Because she is very open to like referees, especially women, reaching out to her. So she's been kind of a mentor through me, like
Oh, so you've
since the
had
beginning.
direct like talks with her.
Yeah, me and her have done 2 Zoom sessions now where she watches my matches with me, and she'll like point out things like, "Hey, you want to actually be over here?"
That's
Or you,
awesome.
yeah. So like, I guess like to describe her is like she's been like one of my best mentors since beginning repping.
She has slowly so when AEW first started, I'll be honest, like I'm a huge Cornette fan and I share a lot of
Mhm.
his views.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a fan of AEW. I wasn't a fan of Aubrey Edwards or not like that. And
Mm-hmm.
slowly but surely, she's become one of my more favorite referees because I think when
Mm-hmm.
she first was there, or when AEW first started, she was such like a huge point for the match that it actually took away from the match. People
Yeah.
were so invested in Aubrey Edwards that I felt like it took away from the match, and it felt like anywhere like she was. I don't think it was her fault. I think it was the camera. It just caught her like perfect angle. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we're not focusing on the match at this point, and now that's kind of gone away. And she's
Yeah.
a really good referee. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like her a
Yeah.
lot. I think she works really well in the ring. And if you watched our interview with Jose, one of the main topics we touched was footwork for a referee.
Yeah.
Like you need to know where you need to be, and you have to
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
So
One thing she's also hammered in with me is because like one of my biggest flaws is my speed, like being able to reaction time and stuff. She's just like footwork and reaction time. So you have to be able to be like jump on your feet really quick, like get out of the way. Cause like sometimes you're just in the wrong spot. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing you could have done that something happens and you need to get out of there as quickly as possible. So that's been something I've been trying to work on as well. Like trying to get back on my feet really quickly after a pin, get on all fours for a pin, and then like most of the time during a Will Austin match that I ref, I have to just be able to move at a like split second notice.
well, you were the referee for him and Sebastian Cage, right?
Yes, and my job was just to get the hell out of the way.
So actually, I want to touch base with you on that. Put us in that situation because I know that was a very tense situation with the main event coming up, crowd chanting 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do. You didn't. You weren't really sure what was going on, and it was
Mhm.
put us in that situation. Like, what was going through your mind?
Well, so my adrenaline is going up to like freaking here, like because that entire match like kept me on my toes. Like I said, like those guys move so quickly that you have to be like split second notice, like dodge. And I've been kicked a couple of times. But yeah, so the match ended. We ran out of time. Dan rang the bell, and everyone's cheering for the 5 more minutes. And like I was down
Yeah.
because like obviously those guys would have teared it up for another 5 minutes. We probably would have needed five more. Like none of
Mhm.
those guys were taking each other to the absolute limit. Ultimately it wasn't my call, but like hearing the crowd chanting for those two guys, it was like I was so happy to be part of that moment because it was just such a raw moment that like I don't think anybody expected it
No,
to
it
end
was
like
a
that.
great match. I've actually seen other outlets speaking about that match, and
Mm-hmm.
people remember referees. People will always
Mm-hmm.
remember Earl Hebner. They're always remember Timmy White getting thrown into Hell in the Cell. They're always gonna remember those moments, and you were a part of that moment.
Yeah.
One thing that I give Sebastian Cage credit on is he knew that that wasn't the main event, and if they would
Mm-hmm.
have made the call and went 5 more minutes, that would have buried the main event. There was no
Absolutely.
following that match, and Sebastian Cage held it in, and he went the proper working route and said, "Hey, 5 minutes, we're done. It's over. We'll catch you tomorrow." So and they went on and had a great triple threat with El Jefe Santos for the title.
Oh, yeah, and I got to be in that one too.
There
It was
you
my
go.
first main event. It was great.
Really, that was your first main event?
Yeah, it was my first main event.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and that was another one. Just stay out of the way. The
So
good thing is because it's no disqualification, I didn't need to get involved that much. But
Hmm.
yeah, it
what
was,
goes through your mind as a referee when you know the caliber of athleticism that you're going walking into the ring with, like a Sebastian Cage, or a Will Austin, or even the likes of Chris Farrow now. Um,
mhm,
what is in your mindset? You have a job, but at some point in time during those matches, you have to turn into a fan, and it has to
yeah.
catch you off guard. That's like talk on that.
Oh man. So I've actually felt the brunt of this like a couple of times. So like you brought up Chris Farrow. So I got a little overzealous between I think it was Bash in the Brew to overzealous with like my counting and stuff. Like I was really getting into it. Like and I get Chris was holding onto the rope and I got too close to him, got kicked in the face. So that's one of those moments where you're just like, oh man, I need to really focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in the moment and like realize where you are and the adrenaline kicks in and everything. But you just gotta like cool it down. Like especially at those Bash of the Brew shows,
Mhm.
the crowd there is unreal.
Uh,
Like
we firsthand when we won the
For,
yeah,
belt, when the spot, Eric Christopher turns around and I have the ref shirt on underneath this, and Joe gets the roll up, the place went nuts. Like
yeah,
it popped. Like we did
I
not
have been
expect
on
that big
roller
of a pop.
coasters that drop straight down.
Yeah.
I have been encounters in my older days with having problems with people, blah, blah, blah. But having adrenaline rush through your body,
yeah,
there is no other feeling. And I don't think there's anything better than when I won the title, or sorry, Christopher, when we won the title, and that shot of adrenaline just straight to the heart of that crowd cheering. I got lost in the moment for a
yeah,
second. I'm like jumping around, hugging Chris, and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck just happened? Like, and we talked about this building up, for all day, and I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, it was crazy. And
yeah.
just that 30 second, we clocked it. It was 30 seconds on the dot. We were champions. And
There you go.
and Chris, I'm not playing any heel seats. I keep saying I, but I mean we. 30 seconds on the dot, we were champions. And for that 30 seconds, it was just the most adrenaline I've ever had rush through my body at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
So
And,
for
and
you
and
to
the
be
great
able
thing,
to feel that every other night or every other week, whatever, it's got to be amazing.
yeah.
the great thing is, when Joe goes for the roll up, his back is to the crowd, so I saw the crowd. And
Mhm.
when Eric Christopher falls down and Joe's rolling him up, I mean the crowd stands up. So it was like a sea of people, just crowd, and I'm just like, oh man. And I did that sweet slide, sweet count, and then
Yeah.
everyone popped, and I'm like, yeah, we did something. We did something. We did something.
They
It was
love
cool.
us.
Yeah, that was like the craziest thing. And then like I'm walking through like a half hour later because I went to go walk out and I sat down for like 15 minutes and people were like, hey, walking by, tap me on the leg, on the shoulder and everything. And then I go to walk around to get a beer and I forget his name. The tall, skinny, long black haired guy. He's
Lou,
all, huh?
Lou.
Lou,
Lou, yeah. Lou grabs me. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "What? I'm going to get a beer." And he's like, "No, get in the fucking back." He's like, "You just got
yeah,
hit. Go back there for
yeah.
like 30 more minutes." So I'm sitting there back for 30 minutes with all the wrestlers. I'm like, "What's up, guys? Just selling it, just selling it." And then I walk out and like I'm going to the bathroom, getting a beer, and everywhere I go, people are patting me on the shoulder. Yo, man, that was a hell of a shot you took. Yo, I
Yeah.
got blood. Like I was juicing. And people were
Yeah.
Oh,
watching, and people were looking at me. They're like, "Dude, like, how was that?" And I was like, "It was real. It hurts." Sold it
Yeah.
for full night. It looked great.
oh,
Looked
And
great.
what's great is peek behind the curtain. So he gets pinned, and I go down and make sure he's okay. And I look down and I see he's bleeding, like in two spots, one up here and one down below his eye. And I
oh
go,
wow.
and I'm down. I'm like acting like I'm making sure he's okay. And I'm like, dude, you got color, dude. That's so badass. That's so badass.
We're
And
just
he's like,
marking out ourselves right there.
and he opens one eye and he goes, really? And I'm like, yeah, bro, you got color. He's like, pull me up. And I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to pull him, and he's selling, he's falling down. Like he sold it well, very
Yeah.
well.
That
And
was
we did a good thing. We knew we did something right when we're walking to the back. And Johnny Walker will not admit this, but he looked me in the eyes and he gave me a wink. He didn't give me the the crabby old man. He gave me a wink and a smirk. So we know we did something right.
we did
Yeah.
something right.
Yeah.
And that's just what we're trying to do. Obviously, when we started this last June and we get to interview everybody and we get amazing talent and Ref Amy, I don't know if you hear it a lot, but you are an amazing talent and amazing
Mhm.
person having the company and you're such a down to earth and person and we've sat down and had a beer together and you were
Yes,
so
we
fun to
have.
talk to.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
such just a chill person to speak to and it's been exciting meeting all of these personalities in wrestling and meeting you and we're glad we get to call you a friend of the Paradox and obviously we want to have you back one day and I would love to come on your show. I can't say how much I'll talk on your show because I'll just be staring at the tempter switch and
You
being
and me
I
both at that point.
all night. God, she has my heart. So anyway, Ref Amy, once again, we want to thank you for coming on to Paradox. Chris, do you have anything else for Ref Amy?
Mm, I do have to say one thing.
Oh, please.
You made a comment about Aubrey Edwards and playing to the crowd and everything like that. Um,
Mhm.
I can see where you could get kind of off your game when you're getting in the ring and there's two knuckleheads that are screaming, Ref Amy, Ref Amy. You know, at the next show, what we'll do is we'll handle those two knuckleheads.
Okay, all
We'll
right.
definitely.
That's us. We're the knuckleheads. No, we actually, I wanted to touch base. I'm sorry, I was cutting too soon. What are your thoughts on Bruce Owens? Like having him around and just being able to have that knowledge in your corner, and that's something that's obviously rubbed shoulders with Ric Flair and Barry Windham and all these old time wrestlers, and growing up with that. How does that feel to have that in your corner where you could just, pick up a phone and call him or pull him aside and talk to him? Like, what's that do for you and your confidence in this wrestling world?
Oh, it absolutely like having him at a show and all watching my matches too, because I like the first time he watched me ref a match, like I was just so honored because like literally this guy has ref for the greats. He has over 40 years in the business. So like he's forgotten more knowledge about wrestling than probably I will ever know. And so it's such an honor to be able to work with him, and it also elevates me whenever I'm on a show with him because I know he's watching, and he's always one of the first people I talk to after a match. There's two people I usually go to. It's Johnny Walker because at backstage he's one of the like truthful people backstage, not just backstage but in life.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you straight up how he felt about everything you did. And then Bruce Owens, because I know he was watching because he loves to watch all of our matches, and I'm always just like, all right, did you see like this part here? Could I have done that a little bit differently? And he's always like very open about giving advice, and we're so blessed to have him on our team as well.
And before the Bash of the Brew 3, we were outside with Bruce, and he just came up with this ending of a match that Joe like looked at me, and I didn't hear the whole scenario. Joe looked at me and goes, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "No." And he said it again, and I go, "That's the most genius way to end a match."
There's like continuous storyline.
Yeah, continue the
I'll tell you
storyline.
about it when we go off the air because I don't ever want to bury Bruce Owens on my show.
Yeah.
But no, sitting and talking with Bruce Owens was absolutely amazing, and I know that you're gonna gain so much knowledge from that. And Ref Amy is somebody that I see going very far with CCW, and hopefully you can have the book one day because maybe a female promoter isn't the worst thing for wrestling right now. Everything's getting turned around in the wrestling world. Why not? I haven't seen it before. I don't know if there's been one, but I would love to see it in CCW.
Well, I'll have to be mentored a little bit because I obviously lack a lot of knowledge when it comes to booking a wrestling show. Because sometimes, like, I'll see some things be done and filmed, and I'll be like, I don't understand how that works. And then, like, Nelio and Dan and Slauson put together an episode. I'm like, oh my god, that's a genius idea.
Oh, don't give that guy Slauson that much credit, okay?
He works very hard.
If Vince Russo can go from 96 to 2001 in booking, I think you'll be just fine. Actually, longer than 2001 because he was in TNA too. But I think you'll be just fine, Ref Amy. All right. There's a bar there. You'll far exceed that. I guarantee.
That Slauson guy is way below it, by the way. I'm just like he's below that bar.
Way down here. But no, Ref Amy, thank you so much for coming on the Paradox tonight. We greatly appreciate it, and it's always a pleasure to have anybody representing CCW in our house and inside the Paradox, obviously. So awesome. We appreciate you again. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
You know what time it is?
It is 9:48.
9:48. What do you usually say around 9:48?
Something stupid.